For those of you on Zoom, thanks for joining. We just kind of went over a real brief introduction, but we're going to start. Thanks for bearing with us as we got set up. It will be recorded too, so we'll be able to share this presentation as recording. If you know anybody that might have seen it too, so we're going to go ahead and get started.
Cool. Well, as Mark said, we're from Commute with Enterprise. My name is Abby Wilcox, and I am the sales executive for Commute with Enterprise. I promise I'm not texting on my phone. I'm using my notes for there. I'm not trying to be rude. So basically, my job in a nutshell is to go around and partner with employers who suffer from transportation barriers, whether that's from a recruiting and retention standpoint, just where they're located geographically. Sometimes we partner for parking and facility initiatives, cost savings, and like CO2, but I'll explain all of that fun stuff. So just to give you a little bit of background on me, everybody knows Enterprise Rent-A-Car, right? So we're a division of Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I started with the company, oh my God, this is crazy, going on 9 years ago now. And I've been in this role here. So I started in the daily rental, so a branch manager in your rental locations that everybody again knows. Did that for 5.5 years. And then moved over to this role about exactly 3 years ago. I love what I do because we help people that wouldn't necessarily have the help unless we were not. So really enjoy it, and I have not looked back since I got out of my daily rental, grinding it out with life. So appreciate you listening to Nate and myself today, and I'll let Nate introduce himself now.
Yeah, so my name is Nate. I am the branch operations manager for Commute with Enterprise in our territory here. So I cover all of Iowa, along the portion of Illinois, Nebraska, and 7 other states as you head west. Unfortunately, I don't get the California coast. So I don't get to go out with Serpent, but I get to hang out with everybody here, and as well as a lot of the northern plain states that way. I am, for lack of a better term, the boots on the ground. Abby comes out and has these great meetings with you folks, as well as other employers all across that Iowa and Illinois portion of that region. And then when we have employers or individual groups or COGs or other transit agencies that are looking to start a program, we then come in from the operations side, we get vans delivered, and then we help with the process going forward from there, whether it's maintenance or somebody gets in an accident or something as simple as they have a question on how to operate a function of the vehicle or how to use a fuel card, something like that. So we're the first call for anybody who's actively in a Vanpool once Abby and her team gets it set up. I'm located in Bettendorf. My coworker Jacob is in Omaha, so kind of the other side of Iowa there. Between the two of us, we're able to facilitate everything here in the state. And I guess I'll give you my background. I've been doing about 9 years. I'm a couple months away from 14 years with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. It's the only job I've had since I was a junior in college. So I've been at it for quite a while. Love it. I've been with the Commute division now for about a year. Spent all my time previous to that in our daily rental division, as Abby was talking about as well. Couldn't be happier to be here, working with you folks, working with the Commute division. As much as we do as a company to help provide great service to individuals, help provide a great service to the environment that we all live in. Commute, I think, does the biggest piece of that across the board for the company. Even though we're one of the smallest divisions, I think we have the greatest impact when it comes to those things. I love that. I love being outdoors. I love working with great people. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you. So quick agenda of what we wanted to cover today. So first and foremost, I'll go through an overview of what Commute with Enterprise is, where we are, and then how the program works. And then I will also let you know the different roles inside of a Vanpool, so you probably have questions about that. And then lastly, any financial considerations. I'll give you an idea of what estimated monthly rental fee looks like for a commute van, along with the subsidy from ECICOG. Okay, so again, Commute with Enterprise, we are a division of Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We are actually the largest provider of vanpools in North America. I didn't know we even existed until this meeting. We've been doing this for over 40 years. However, when we started this, it was like on the coast. So like your congested areas, so your LAs, your San Frans, and then like your Washington DCs and your New York cities. for obvious reasons, right? More population, more people, they needed help first. But here in the last like 10 years, I would say, they're finding that commute and the Vanpool program is more prevalent here in the middle of the US because of employers in rural areas that need help getting folks to and from work. So that's why I'm here to talk to you today. So with our program, we have over 10,000 Vanpools on the road, removing about 45,000 vehicles off the roads and out of parking lots. We currently operate in 48 states, so in every green bubble you see there, you have a designated account manager, sales executive like myself, and then you also have a designated operator like Nate and his team in all of those areas. So we have a vast presence across the US. And then also with our program, we've been able to eliminate 1 billion commuter miles annually off the roads. And then reducing 812 million pounds of CO2 reduction annually out of the environment. So again, going along with what I was talking about earlier with environmental impacts that we can have as well, and we can share that data with you as well. So really easy how the program works. So what we do is we help connect 4 to 15 coworkers who live nearby each other who are on a similar shift and all headed to the same location or similar location. They would then choose their vehicle, so we specialize in 7-seater SUVs, minivans, all the way up to a 12 and 15 passenger van. From there, the group themselves would choose a convenient meetup location. That could be one of the driver's houses, it could be just a centralized location. I think we have a few groups up here that come from Tyson's locally and drive down to Iowa City, so that's fine as well. We honestly don't care where that vehicle sits at the end of the night, as long as it's in a safe and secure location overnight. So then the group would use our vehicle to get to and from work, hopefully having more than one driver on every vehicle, so then they can take turns, or if someone does call in sick, right? Like it happens, they have a backup driver to be able to still run that van. And then at the end of the day, they enjoy the benefits of it. Usually it's a cost savings benefit, or just being able to get a ride in general benefit. Or just getting time back in the day because they don't have to sit through traffic, like on the 380 corridor coming north and south. I know that happens quite a bit, but there are all that communications going on. So, what's included in the program is a recent model vehicle, like I was saying before, SUV, minivan, 12 and 15 passenger van. 24/7 roadside assistance, so any breakdowns or any car accidents, they have a number available to them 24 hours a day if Nate and his team is outside working hours. Preventative maintenance is included, so that group is responsible for taking the vehicle to get the maintenance done, but they are not exchanging money, everything is direct to us, so that's tires, oil changes, recalls, things like that. Nate and his team will direct us on where to go, that's most convenient for them. And then possibly helping them set up an appointment to do so as well. It's also a month-to-month flexible program, so what that means is if, it's really easy to start a program, but that's also pretty easy to take away a program or terminate a van and it wasn't working for whatever reason, like shifts change or they just, God forbid, left that company and whatever the case is, no harm, no foul, we just need the 30-day written notice or verbal notice really, Nate has to write it down. And then we'll take it back with no charge. So I say that, right, that it's easy to terminate a van, but once you get a Vanpool on the road and moving, they stay on the road and on rent for an average of 5 years. And we even have some vans that have been on the road for almost 10 years now, right? Yeah, and yeah, I'll talk about it later, but one of our longest standing programs is here, down south in Iowa City at the Iowa City VA. We have 25 vans currently running with them, and then out west in Omaha, we have a program with Commute that's been running for forever as well. I think longer than that. 9 years.
Thanks, so.
So weird.
So jumping in just real quick on the vehicles, I mean, Abby touched on it, they're decent model year vehicles, we try to get some of the newest, lowest mileage fleet that we can. Because of the size of the company of enterprise as a whole, we have the ability to not only pull vehicles in from our rental operations all across the country to meet the needs of the Vanpool groups, but we also have a certain amount of buying power when it comes to manufacturers. And so if there's any specific needs of a Vanpool group or an employer or geographical needs based on the territory where somebody's located, we're able to find vehicles that meet those needs. and that includes ADA accessible vehicles. I know that a lot of times people are concerned about that with things like vanpools. It's, is it going to fit my needs when it comes to, a disability or something that I have employees that need this specific type of vehicle. We can make that happen. We have the ability to get vehicles outfit as needed. We do our best to do it as quickly as possible because of the length of time it takes for things to be installed, removed from vehicles to get delivered from direct from manufacturer. There sometimes are some delays in that, just physically getting the vehicle where we need it to be and making those things happen. But we still fall well within ADA requirements when it comes to that. So if you've ever got a situation where somebody does need a vehicle and we need a ramp, or we need to have a seat removed to be able to fit a wheelchair, things like that, we offer that service as part of the program. It is rarely utilized, unfortunately. I don't know, again, if people just assume we can't do it, or if it's something where we have not had a situation where somebody actually needed it yet, but we do offer it is available. And then also with these vehicles, because we have such a vast number of vehicles, a vast fleet, the largest rental fleet in North America that we can pull from, we're able to find if somebody needs something that is, made in America, by America standards, that stuff, we can make that happen. We already do that when we're working along with our partners at ECICOG. The federal money that comes in for the subsidy that they provide, one of those stipulations is that it needs a Buy America standard vehicle. We're able to do that. If you've got an employer who just absolutely loves Nissan and I want a Nissan, it's gotta be a Nissan, we can do that. We've got the ability to make that happen. So that's one of the big perks, even though as far as a region, we've only been doing it for about 10 years compared to 40 as a division and, longer as a company as a whole, we're still pretty new. We still have the ability to do that because of the partner.
I will say though, if the more particular you get with selecting a vehicle and the type of vehicle you need, the longer it takes to get delivered, because the longer it takes Nate to pull it from fleet, because essentially we have to pull them either from our daily rental fleet like he was talking about, or sometimes we get new car stock, right? And off the line, so just remember that. I know Nate likes to say it's all daisies and roses, but sometimes it's not, so sometimes it can take a month and they're gonna be specific about the type of vehicle, or we can get it as fast as 2 weeks if you're flexible on the vehicle. Also on the slide, last little what's included benefit for the employees is we also include comprehensive physical and liability insurance. So if anything happens to our vehicle up to a total loss or theft, we're gonna cover it. Then we also cover third party liability damage up to $300,000. So if, God forbid they're on their way to work, it's icy and they slid and hit something or some other vehicle or property, we're gonna potentially cover everything up to $300,000, which to compare it to like insurance in general, it's probably what they're carrying on their home car insurance.
And I'll mention too, on the insurance side of things, the medical that's a part of that. It's something that we do see utilized from time to time in vehicles if there is an accident. There is medical that also assists for the people that are traveling in the vehicle, not just the coordinator, the person that's the driver is driving the vehicle, but the other people in the vehicle as well, to help with medical, ambulance, things like that if they're necessary.
So not only do employees use Commute with Enterprise because of those great benefits I talked about before, but a lot of employers choose to partner with us because of the great benefits we can provide to the employer themselves. So these are all the top reasons on this slide of why we partner with companies across the country. We don't see half of these probably in this area, but I'll just talk through that real quick. So first and foremost, we help with parking, so reducing parking spaces. On average, it can cost about $30,000 to add a parking space and then $19,000 annually to even maintain that space. So we can help with that by reducing a need to maybe create more parking spaces because your company is growing. We can help go along with that. Congestion mitigation, we see this more at our federal and military work sites if there's a one in, one out. security checkpoint, we can help with any congestion there. Of course, employee savings on average, the employees save about $6,000 per year by participating in a Commute with Enterprise program just by being in a vanpool. The improved carbon footprint, one of our vehicles, when you take one vehicle off the road, it reduces 12,500 pounds of CO2 annually out of the environment. So if you put 5 people together, that's 5 cars. You can do the math, I'm not going to. I have an engineering degree and I still don't like math. So if like a company or a municipality has greener sustainability goals, we can help provide data to show what the program is doing to help with those. A lot of companies now are like net zero by 2030 and things like that, so it helps with that. What we see the most, I will say, here in the Midwest and in my territory, which is all of Iowa and a sliver of Illinois and part of Nebraska, is recruitment and retention of top talent. So we saw a big I don't know what, a lot of companies were trying to actively recruit, and they couldn't recruit them, so they were trying to come up with a benefit, right? To help, put themselves out there, make themselves stand out against the other employers in the area. So this can help with that, right? It can go along with a great benefits program we may already be utilizing at a company. And then on the retention side of things, we're taking away the barrier of transportation. So like using their own vehicle that's probably not as new as our vehicle. We're also partnering them up with, 3 to 4 to 5 to 15 other employees like themselves. So they tend to come to work more well rested, ready to work, and in a better mental state once they're in a van as well. And then back to the recruitment piece, they may have a recruiting radius of like 10 to 15 miles, but now they can expand that radius. Maybe they're in Cedar Rapids and they want to go down to Iowa. Do it because their shifts are different than the 3 bus. Well, this helps with that as well. And now, utilizing Vanpool because we aren't stuck to like a strict schedule. We are very flexible in what we do. And then the last 2, equitable right to work and corporate citizenship. So now, employers are not only listening to their people, but they're giving them a solution for that. And then we're not just offering it to one group, we're offering it to the entire community. And then we partner a lot with like DE&I leaders to help with all of their DE&I initiatives that they may have to help diversify their workforce as well.
And as far as recruitment goes, I just wanted to share a fun story. We actually learned this yesterday. We were down in Iowa City yesterday. We did an event there, which was similar to this, and then we spent a few hours at the Iowa City VA hospital talking with some of our customers that were there, as well as some people who are interested in joining the program. And we were approached by a young doctor, and I don't know of what specifically, but a young doctor came up to us and mentioned that he was part of the program already, and that when he was going through the interview process to start work at the VA, he was concerned he wasn't going to be able to take the job because he thought he was going to have to move to Iowa City because he lives in the Quad Cities, lives in Davenport, and did not have a vehicle that he trusted to help him make that commute. And so because of the Vanpool program through Commute with Enterprise and the partnership with ECICOG and the Iowa City VA in this case, the VA was able to get a great doctor from what I assume and hope based on medical care that they provided the VA. I'm pretty sure it's pretty good. So they were able to bring in a great young doctor onto their staff because he was able to find transportation to work through this program, and he may not be there if it weren't for that. So as far as recruitment goes, that is my new favorite story as of yesterday, because I just think that's awesome.
Well, and I think the VA has a ton of like parking constraints too, so if you're in a vanpool, that's one of the perks that they can park on site there, so that helps with that too. We can go to the next one. So there's a few different roles inside of the vanpool. First and foremost is the coordinator of the van, so this person has basically raised their hand to say they will be like the captain of that vanpool. So essentially, we just ask them to be our main point of contact. Operationally to communicate on a day-to-day basis with Nate potentially on anything that could be happening. So maintenance issues, any kind of car accidents that they may have, any issues they're having inside of their van, we just ask that they communicate everything through the operations team. Next, you have just drivers of this van, so these are the people that have been approved through the Commute driver approval online process that we have. We run a motor vehicle record check that looks through the previous 5 years of their motor vehicle history. And then they've been approved online. We do still ask them to immediately report any accidents, damages, maintenance issues to their coordinator, and then also to Commute with Enterprise as well. And then, this one's really important, we ask them to report any changes in their driving record that could affect their approval in our system, because we only run motor vehicle record checks every year. So if we have to rerun an MVR, we need to know ASAP to do so, because that could have changed if they're approved to drive, and then God forbid they get into an accident, and they're not approved to drive. Everything falls back on that driver because that voids the contract. Pretty, I mean, it act like it's pretty, it is very serious, we see it happen. And then last, we have just riders, so these people maybe don't have a driver's license, but they're still a really good candidate to be an employee. Maybe they just don't want the driving responsibility, that's fine, no harm, no foul, they can still absolutely participate in the program. We just ask that they're courteous to the other people in the vanpool, be aware of who is approved to drive at all times, and then give their vanpool plenty of notice if they decide to leave, so 30-day notice. Cause that could put in a termination notice to us, because they might have to recoup that rider if they're under 50 people. And then lastly, report any maintenance issues that they may see that the other participants may not see. For example, like a seatbelt not working in the back seat, because they're usually in the back. And please, if you have questions, feel free to stop me if anything comes to. This looks very small. So this is basically my territory, and all the green dots that you can barely see, oh geez. I was just trying to display where we're currently at in the state of Iowa and where we have programs in the state. And then also there's a sliver of Omaha there and a sliver of Illinois on the east side, but pretty much we're across the state of Iowa, in all of the major areas, and then in your more rural areas as well. There's 3 red dots. I'll go and point at it. I think people cannot see them on the, okay, so there's a red dot here in Omaha, a red dot here in Des Moines, and a red dot here in Davenport. That's just dictating where our vehicles come from. So just to give you an idea of where our hubs are located, those folks, they will move our vehicles to their final destination, because Nate and I sit on the east side in Illinois, and then we have our counterparts in Omaha, so we rely heavily on our hubs to move our vehicles for us, because our state is pretty large. Also on the screen is our current partners. So as you can see, we have a vast variety and a diverse partnership with each of these. So Googled in Council Bluffs, Iowa City VA with the 25 vans, Tyson Foods across the state of Iowa, we have various locations. Bus Liberty Foods, another protein processor like Tyson, Roseacre Farms is an egg farm, and then QPS Employment Group is a staffing company. So I just want to show you that this isn't a solution just for blue collar or shift work. It's literally for everybody under the sun. We can come up with anything customizable that we need to.
And like Abby was saying, my office is in Bennett, a coworker in Omaha. The red dot she was referencing there, one in the Quad Cities, one in Des Moines. You can see we kind of flank this area here. It's not too long of a drive from either one of those for us to move vehicles in or out. And we use those locations, we call those hub locations, where our vehicles are parked en masse. So that if we have deliveries to do, they come from those. If we need to maybe exchange a vehicle due to an automobile accident or some mechanical issue that may have arisen, that's where we're doing it from, is those places. They're not right next door, but they're not too far. So this is where those timeframes come in that we had kind of talked about. 2 weeks, if we're delivering a new van, roughly 2 weeks, we can get it pulled from one of our rental car locations where it's being utilized, detailed. We have some fancy decals that we put on there both for ourselves and locally for recorded rides as well. I love that color green, by the way, it's pretty cool. But we get those decals on there, cleaned up, make sure maintenance is in a good spot, get them delivered from one of those 2 spots. And that's how we're able to cover all of Iowa, the 3 hub locations there, between those specific locations and the staff that we have to operate the logistics team that moves those for us. We're able to do it pretty easily from there, and create less wait times than maybe Montana, where it's
We have issues.
quite larger and not as many
And a lot of
costs, so.
A lot of other things happen. So this is just an example of the impacts that we can have on a specific employer. In this example, I put 250 employees, 94 of which have decided to sign up for vanpooling, leading to approximately 14 7-passenger vehicles. With that data, it was able to reduce 1.8 million miles annually off of the roads and out of highways and out of parking lots, and then 1.4 million pounds of CO2 reduction, leading to a reduction in 80 parking spaces. But most importantly and specifically is the employee savings. So $770,000 essentially for saving 94 people and half the mission.
It's about $690 per employee, savings there
Yeah.
per month.
Yeah, so in this example, I did like $3 a gallon, which is generally where it's at right now in this area, 90 miles round trips, 45 miles each way. They're commuting 21 days per month, so your average 5-day a week, normal work schedule, and an average rate of $1,350, which I'll get into that in a second, and then less the $500 subsidy from ECICOG. Hopefully is, you already said savings of about $690 per person, per month.
Yeah, and Brock and I were actually discussing this earlier a little bit. Just, personally, when I think of $600 a month, I consider myself to be in the age bracket and similar income bracket to most people that we are hiring, recruiting, and a lot of employers across the Midwest. And I'm a young family, I've got, kids and then bills and groceries and all that. $690 a month is a big deal. So if I think, man, if I could save $690 a month and ride in a vehicle with a bunch of people that I work with who are, similar mindsets, similar interests, things like that, that alone for me is a no-brainer.
Okay, so now, just wanted to give you a brief example of what a cost breakdown looks like for a vanpool per month. This is like average, so we go from anywhere between $1,300 a month and almost $2,000 a month, depending on the type of vehicle, trim level, what it is. And if you have a specific example that you would like a rate quote for, let me know, because I can get that to you. So as you see, a 7-passenger minivan is $1,450 per month. That's not including taxes. And then you subtract the transit agency subsidy from ECICOG at $500 per month. And then you do that for all of them. So you see 7-seater SUV for $1,350, and then your 12 or 15 passenger is $1,850. Your cost per passenger per month is $160, $140, and $114 respectively for those vehicles. And then your average cost savings is about $400 per month.
And these are based on, model year 2023 vehicles, which is the majority of what we carry at this point. So when we talk about newer model vehicles, we're not joking, pretty new. Obviously, as the market changes and you do see fluctuations in pricing, we do our best to hold the lowest prices we can when it comes to our fleet and how we're putting them out on these contracts. Because we know that it affects what that savings number comes to either the employers or the employees that are taking part in the program. So we make sure to work with the manufacturers, to work with our company as a whole. We're not instantly buying a bunch of 2024 vehicles and then seeing it's changing. We're working with everybody we can to make sure that this is economical, while also still providing newer vehicles with low mileage that are going to be comfortable for everybody to ride.
I will also say for this, so employers can pick and choose how they want to subsidize. So typically we partner with the employer who then rolls the benefit out to their employees with our marketing and with the help of us with on-site events like Nate was talking about earlier. We actually come on site and try to get your employees to sign on. But the company can pick and choose what they want to do. So as far as subsidy, so we see companies that fully subsidize the program, including fuel, and have nothing back on the employees. Then we also see more companies now, I would say, recently in the last couple of years, they do a mix. So they will do some kind of subsidy, but then they'll farm down to their employees a pre-tax payroll deduction. Because you are allowed to be $300 per month pre-tax payroll deducted for a transportation solution, like Commute with Enterprise. So in order to do that, you have to get with your payroll company. I'm not the expert on it, but it also saves your company and payroll taxes at the end of the year. There's like a 4% version on actually dollar that you do through a pre-tax payroll deduction. I can get you actual numbers on that. But what we typically see is like employers, I would say anywhere from like charging their employees $25 to $35 per week pre-tax payroll deducted. Because in those examples where people are not paying anything, we see more misuse of the vehicle, I would say, like people not riding every day, just taking advantage of it. So utilizing pre-tax benefit, you give them a little bit of skin in the game, we call it, to want to utilize the program. So they're just not doing whatever they want.
The other thing I was gonna mention, just based on this, and you'll see it on the next slide as well, we'll have a QR code for you to utilize. But along with our ability to help generate these numbers for you, if you're interested in more specific data to your employer that you work for, they're also available on our website, both from the perspective of the employer and the employee. Being able to look at savings, being able to look at carbon offset, being able to look at some of the important statistics that come along with this program. Our website is commutewithenterprise.com, super original.
You can go, just go to that slide.
But yeah, there's a QR code on this next one here, that you can access it that way as well. And we recommend that as well for anybody who wants to see some numbers. Obviously we can pull them for you. Maggie's got the ability to drill it down and find those specifics and find honestly more than what's on the website as well. But if you're looking for just a quick hit, you can go to that website too and find some data there.
That's all we have, so hopefully you enjoyed listening and know a little bit more. What questions do you have? Now's the time to ask. We can ask crazy questions. I've probably heard them all, so.
So you mentioned gas. Do they have a card, or is that paid for out of pocket, or
Yeah.
that's included in the?
So you can do whatever you want to do. So most of our vans, all have a fuel card that we give them. That's just strictly used for fuel.
Okay.
They get a PIN number that we set for them, and then it gets invoiced to the employer. That is billed in arrears though, so billing for the vehicle itself is in advance, so it takes like a month of that. But then, yes, I've had companies request not to have any fuel card, just let them figure it out on their own,
Okay.
so whatever.
And that fuel card itself is a monitored fuel program. So our operations team, myself and my coworker, along with our corporate support team, is able to monitor the usage on those fuel cards. And we watch for things like if somebody's spending 1 month was kind of outrageous compared to what the trend is, we're able to see that, and we bring employers in those conversations, just say, hey, did somebody else lose a fuel card, are they using this for 2 vehicles, or is there something kind of interesting going on that we need to look into? We monitor it that way. We also are able to use that monitored data to provide data to our transit agency partners when they're looking at like NTE, which is part of the program if somebody is receiving federal subsidy.
Yeah.
So we're able to provide that part for those employers or for those individual vanpools as necessary to kind of take something off their plate when it comes to that.
It also helps us, so we don't, like, I get this question a lot, it might be in your mind, but we don't like load jack our vehicles or have like trackers on our vehicles, like you may think. So that's part of our way to monitor. So when they start a vanpool, they give us our route and roster form, and then we put that into the system and it gives us their average monthly mileage. And then like to Nate's point, if their average monthly mileage is 1,500 miles per month, and we see they're doing like 2,500 in gas like we can talk with the company, be like, hey, there's something wrong, like, do we have the route wrong? Did you add a person and then the route changed a little, things like, or are they just misusing it, because we do unfortunately see that.
2 questions.
Yes,
One, the 1450 price.
Yes.
For the 7-passenger, is that after you get the 500, or 500 would come off of that price?
500 would come off, but that's not including taxes. I don't know what Iowa state taxes are on top of my head, there's two.
With 5 and 7.
Yeah, I think so. If you want like an exact rate quote, let me know and I can work something.
Okay. And two, you said it's a minimum of 4
Yes,
people per vehicle?
4 to start and maintain a van to be, for us to qualify federally as a vanpool program, right, a commuter program. So if you start with 4 and one person drops out, then you go down to 3, and then that's where the termination risk comes in. So we like to see 5 to 6, because it's a healthier just van in general, in case someone does leave, if the van's still running. But yes.
And that's not like, oh no, somebody's sick one day.
No.
And so, okay, it's just,
Someone
people are generally gonna be using this
Yes.
van to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so if someone calls in one day a week or something for some reason, that's fine. They're still part of that van pool, majority of the time.
It also helps, if we're able to get to 5 or 6 individuals in the van, it helps, kind of ensure an increased likelihood of having a second or third approved driver for that vehicle, so that if the person is ill that day and can work as the driver, it's not affecting the whole van. We do work with a lot of protein processors across the state of Iowa. That workforce is heavily refugee-based at some of those facilities. And so we know that not everybody's able to get a driver's license or is interested in getting a driver's license, you know, that there are different things that they're focused on, which is perfectly fine, but that's one reason we talk about this increased van pool size is because we have a pool of 6 or 7 people in the van, it's more likely that somebody else is gonna be able to qualify to become the driver than if we're just at 4.
You made me think of something that I forgot to mention yesterday at lunch and learned down in Iowa City, but, so every van pool that, the rates were based off of 2,000 miles per month. But also when you're a driver for a van, you get 200 free miles to use on your own personal time, and then the insurance transfers over to that as well. So I always say like, take your spouse out on a date, go to the movies, take the kids to practice, whatever, what have you, it's fine, up to 200 miles automatically built into that rate. Because we're a volunteer driver, right? So your employees are driving our vehicle and they're volunteer, you can't pay them, because that will get into liability concerns with your company, and we don't want that. We want all the liability on us, so this is just a way to say thank you to them for driving the vehicle to get the place to and from work.
And is there a maximum amount of drivers that you can have, like you have 6 or 7, they can all be registered drivers?
Yeah.
Yep, as long as they meet this
And-
qualification, get them through that.
Yeah, and
Can you state what those qualifications are?
yeah, so they have to have a driver's license in the US for a minimum of 5 years. And then it's no more than 2 moving violations or accidents in the last 3 years, and no more than 4 in the last 5. And then they can't have any like felony, driving things on the records, like DUIs, leaving the scene of an accident, things like that. But it's all online, so they just plug in their information, we don't like to take any PII ourselves. And then they fill it out and it tells them within 5 minutes if they're approved or denied. If they are declined to drive and don't know why, there's a phone number they can call. They do not call us because they will not tell us why. We don't want to know all of that stuff about people and names doesn't want those phone calls, but there's a 800 number that they'll see on that email. Call and find out why.
And the information, the driver application itself, as well as other information, is available in multiple languages as well. So if there are people in your workforces who English is not their primary language, and it's easier for them to understand another language, it's available already in many languages, and we have more coming, and we're utilizing a new, what's it, facility, it's not a facility, we're utilizing a new service, that's called Language Link, where it's a 3-way call translation system as well. So if there's an employee who's part of the program and has a question, but we're having trouble conveying that in English, or we don't understand the question necessarily, we can set up a 3-way call and have access to hundreds and hundreds of languages across the world.
Super nice.
So,
Because we've had a lot of language barriers with like our texting accounts, we've worked with a lot of refugees that we can't speak with.
And that gives you only to like, if you report an accident or something, you can use
Yeah.
that as well.
Yeah, we can 3-way call, whoever we need to. And then also on that point is all of the marketing that we, so like those flyers that you see, those can be translated in most languages as well. Like your main ones, your English, French, Spanish, we also do like Burmese, we have a few other dialects that are escaping me at the moment, but we have a ton because of, the customer base that we help out.
And we also offer the ability to communicate via, not just phone calls, but email and text. So more easily translated forms of communication too, just to help out because, again, we know that a phone call is not necessarily the best way to communicate if you can't understand each other on your side of the phone. We have a branch cell phone that my coworker in Omaha has, and that number is on my business cards, it's on my emails, it's the number that we publicly put out there for people not only to call, but also text. And then our email can obviously be translated as well through Google or other things that we have access to online.
So I have a question on size and how often. So I understand the Vanpool thing, everyday savings and all that kind of stuff. So I have a lot of folks that work for me that, don't have transportation on Sundays because of the bus system, or they don't have transportation. They can get from us to the bus station, but then there's not one that goes from the station to their area or something. So we would need like a smaller vehicle, and it would be an everyday kind of usage. It could be that, but, so do you have other programs? I mean, this kind of sounds like one
So the
central program with using a whole van or using whatever.
when you say smaller, you mean like a sedan, a small
Yeah,
car, something like that.
those.
So those wouldn't be part of the van program itself, part of Commute with Enterprise, but we do offer those things through Enterprise Mobility, through business lines, through Enterprise in a car. It just wouldn't be part of the Vanpool program specifically. Those we are limited in size. We have to have a vehicle 7 seats or larger. And the general occupancy of that vehicle has to be over 50% for individuals or in those vehicles qualified for the van program.
Counting the driver?
Say that again?
Counting the driver?
Yes. What I
That makes four.
What I will say, just if there are people that are part of the Vanpool group that also have the issue with Sunday transportation, but that's not necessarily like on their work, if it's something where they're just having issue on Sundays, those 200 personal miles that Abby was talking about can be used for something like that as long as the driver is the person driving. So it wouldn't be part of that main Vanpool program, but if that group needs it, specifically they go to the grocery store and they all work together, they could do that. Or if they all want to attend the same event on a Sunday morning, they can use it as part of the 200 as long as the driver is the one behind the building.
Not really a question, I just wanna make sure that I have like the things in order. So say we'd like to use this and we have 4 people plus the driver that makes 4 people. We would reach out and say, hey, we would reach out to you and say, hey, we'd love to do this. You'd go, okay, how many people? Who is the coordinator? Who are your drivers? You'd send out a background check, an MVR check, they all pass, awesome. You'd get a car to wherever we would need it. And then, we would be able to use it on a monthly basis as we need, is it an every day that we have to use it? We have big transportation issues on Sundays, so is it okay if we only use it on Sundays?
I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't get to know for less mileage.
Yeah.
The problem is, if it's not a day, so you have to use it, the minimum for us in ECICOG to get the subsidy is the ridership. So you have to have the minimum riders,
Okay.
but yes, there was one step that we skipped in that equation, so once a company reaches out to me and they say they wanna move forward, we have to draft up a commute program partner agreement. But I said it's a 4-page agreement, basically just locking in your rates, telling you you're gonna get the subsidy, and exactly what we've talked about today, that we provide marketing, on-site demos, commuter connection meetings if we need to, that stuff. That has to get signed by somebody at your facility as well as, our counterparts here in Iowa at a group level. And then once that is done, yes, all of that other steps are correct. So you would
Okay.
email me, we're good to go. We would sign the agreement, then after that, I would send you a new Vanpool form.
Okay.
Get the form filled out, that's a route and cost form, and then send back, and we would work with me on a vehicle and delivery.
Okay, and then are there other, that you're aware of, other federal subsidies that like nonprofits could apply for?
I don't know off the top of my head, I've heard about, so you're both from, are you from Goodwill?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's already Goodwill using this in Ohio, my counterpart, but drop me your information and I can email you what I know about Goodwill already running and if it is still running, because they were doing it, and I don't know what the capacity was or what they were utilizing it for. It was either Ohio or Indiana. So either it was one of my counterparts out there, and I can reach out to them. I know at least they tried to figure it out and like either got started and got rolling or it just didn't, I don't know.
Okay.
So we don't talk a whole lot of them anymore. They used to be on my team, they're on a different team now, so, but yes, if you, just drop your card right over there and I'll grab it and I can do a little research and something. Also, if you think that the Commute with Enterprise program doesn't work because you don't have the minimum amount of riders, or you want a regular sedan, I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm going to. So we're enterprise mobility, so we have a lot of different mobility lines. We have rent a car, we have our corporate business rental, we have truck rentals, where we do commercial trucks. So if for some reason it wasn't a fit for van pooling, we can hook you up with our corporate folks who can help you get a corporate discount and get a rate plan that way, to help your facility in some fashion. So then when you go rent a vehicle on a regular basis, if that's what you need to do every week instead of monthly, we can help.
We definitely could fill a van for sure, we just have a lot of employees that don't have driver's licenses,
So,
right?
okay.
I mean, that's the,
Yeah,
that's the
so
whole
thank
point.
you for bringing that up. So in that instance, what I would suggest is one of you guys at the facility be a driver. Again, volunteer driver, you're not being paid to do so, but you're helping your employees get to and from work. So when we talk about the Tysons and things like with the shift work and blue collar work and the refugee population, we typically start with the supervisors. Because they're the ones working with them on that line and can bring them to work, and we know they're already reliable because they're a supervisor for a reason. So I will look into something like that and see if any of you guys are willing and able to be drivers, and then if anybody in the office or in that facility wants to be backups too.
So, sorry to be kind of taking over this conversation, Goodwill specific. Jump in with your guys' specific needs as well. So, our store managers and our ASMs, our assistant store managers, unless we have a specific accommodation for them because they don't have their license, et cetera. All of them are able to drive for Goodwill because we have few company vehicles. So, like the supervisor would be the coordinator.
Yep.
And the coordinator can also be a driver, correct?
That's what we
Do they have to be?
No,
Cool.
Like you can be the coordinator,
Yeah.
and then someone else can be the driver. The coordinator, again, is just our contact, people to speak to that vehicle and be able to tell us what is happening inside that vehicle, whenever Nate reaches out in a timely manner.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's our commitment to each other, timeliness,
Yeah.
24 hours.
and anybody who can guarantee me they'll respond to an email or phone call or text, that's the person I need to be the coordinator. They don't necessarily.
And the coordinator, it is an agreement, right? Like you have to sign an agreement, it's coordinator agreement, and then there's a driver agreement, they're separate.
Gotcha.
Because of that fact of the main point of contact, but typically everybody that wants to be a coordinator will be approved to be a coordinator. And I don't even know what, I think they just verify your address, like your home address and your phone number, and you say who you are is who you are.
Yeah.
So why would you say that we can't hire someone specifically to be
So
main driver?
when you do that, you're opening up yourself as an employer to liability. If that person were to be driving workers accident, workers comp, could come into play, things like that. The way the program is set up is that we, by default, include physical damage protection, covering the vehicle for any damage, and liability and medical for the group that's in the vehicle. Some employers choose to forego that. It's not common because it's a pretty big piece of program we offer. But some employers do choose to forego that, at which point
take
it
like,
opens up, the opportunity if they want to kind of the direction, but it does then remove it from the federal definition of vanpool, when you're paying that driver. It's not a volunteer driver, so at that point it starts changing how those things operate. So kind of twofold
we
there.
could get into the weeds with the paid drivers for sure, cause like the agreement on my end when I draft the coordinated, like, commute partner agreement looks totally different. Cause it takes that liability piece out and it puts it back on the company, and at the end of the day, we would rather not have the company involved in any liability, because it gets a little hairy sometimes, we would rather just keep it all in-house for ourselves, we are a self-insured company, besides our liability, we go third party, but we would rather just keep it all easy, clean, like, all with us.
So if there is an accident and it is the driver's fault, let's say, or seen at fault.
And they're a
that's-
police driver?
Yeah.
That's just,
Just one of those things.
as long as they weren't misusing the vehicle, like DUI,
Sure.
going off the route heinously, right, like somewhere in a farm field in the middle of Iowa, it happened, we probably have seen it. May has probably seen, we've probably seen everything, yeah.
So even if they're, so their personal insurance and personal liability, they're not.
Unless the liability limits go over the 300,000 that we provide, then it would default back to the driver's insurance.
And then when you have the contract, so the contract's directly with the company.
Yes.
So we are paying you monthly invoices for those sort of things, and
Yeah.
then as the company, you choose to.
Farm it out to your employees, or what, so, we traditionally, I should say, partner with the company, we would then build van pools and then give an invoice to that company 100% after the subsidy. So we work with Brock to figure that out on our end, so then we're getting that invoice after the subsidy's taken out, and then including fuel and all taxes. And then, yes, you can push it down to your places you would see fit or would like to.
So we can deal with up to $300 a month.
Per employee,
Per employee, yes, pre-tax.
yes. It's a lot, $300 is a lot
Yeah.
to put on your employees, so that's what I was saying, I think average probably 20 to 40, right, here per week.
Per week, yep.
Yeah, so 120 per month, I would say.
And are there potentials to find, fuel subsidies through different?
Like that to help with that, I'm not sure, I mean, you were talking about nonprofit, like you could apply for grants, there has to be something locally, I would think.
And Brock will correct me if I'm wrong on this. The ECICOG subsidy is not built strictly to cover fuel, but it covers $500 of the van pool, so in theory, that subsidy is, spreading to cover not just rate, but potentially fuel and things like that, as a whole on the invoice. I've not run into any strictly specific fuel subsidies, but that doesn't mean they're not there. It's just nothing that I've run into in the last year or the last 3 years for having, so.
And then maybe one final question for me.
No, I
Things fall in my head randomly. Part of the 5-step process is finding a meeting place. Is that a requirement, or is that just to help the employees? Or else, like, I wouldn't assume that we drove to each person's house, but we might have some big location.
Okay.
Okay, okay. I didn't know it has to be like,
No.
we start
No,
tracking
so
at
I didn't really,
No.
usually it's probably didn't this time, but, yeah, so it could be a meetup location where everybody comes together and meets, right? So the coordinator, driver, all the riders come to this one location. Or it could be the coordinator / driver takes it home at the end of the night when they're done and then meets and picks people up. Or it can be a route system where the coordinator and the drivers have agreed to it and said, I'm okay getting up 15 minutes earlier, leaving 15 minutes earlier to pick people up. We don't like here, as long as you guys have worked it out, or the riders have worked it out between themselves and have, that understanding of this is what it's gonna be, and we're gonna be here when we're gonna be here, and if you're not here, like, we're leaving kind of thing, so that's all up to the group. That's in that route and roster form though,
And it's
that you
also,
would fill out
it's also able to be changed, so if the group decides
to
at the
shift it.
start that they all wanna meet in one place and all, drive their personal vehicles to that parking lot and the van and go to work. great. If 3 months later they decide, you know what? I don't want to leave my personal car in the Tyson's parking lot. I want to get picked up at home. Change that, we can edit that down the line if that changes.
Right.
And
It's
vice
flexible.
versa. That's something they can contact me and I can go into the computer, have access to it if I run around for some reason, but we can go in and change that. The only thing to keep in mind is that, so the rates quoted again, that 1450 number, 1350 number, those are based on 2,000 miles a month. That includes the 200 personal miles, so it'd be 1,800, 200 personal built into that. If the edit of the route changes that and brings the number over 2,000, it moves it into that next price point, and it's $125 additional for each step up 500 mile increments. So that is one of those things to keep in mind at an employer level, if the employer is subsidizing that van pool, is to kind of look at that number before we change it sometimes, and we'll let you know as well. If I get a call and someone's like, hey, instead we want to pick everybody up individually, it's gonna have 300 miles a month, it's gonna move you up. I give folks a heads up on that too, like, actually willing to do it, are you sure? So.
Here's your options.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's pretty, I mean, it's pretty flexible
Yeah,
with
okay.
what they would need. We try not to see those things happening on a regular basis. We would like to keep them on a monthly basis, I would say, for like trip reporting and things like that to get the subsidy from ECICOG, but we're pretty.
Okay. Ooh, I have one more question. Oh, so we are considering, doing this for people who live at a halfway house.
Yeah.
So, hopefully they get out of the halfway house, get their own place, become, awesome members of society.
Yep.
Oopsie daisies, it's now down to 3 people, including the driver, and we'll need to find a 4th
Yep.
person. How long is there a gap?
30 days.
30 days,
Oh,
okay.
so it drops
Something
from
like
4.
faster than 30 minutes.
Drops from 4 to 3, that would automatically put in a termination notice for 30 days. That 30 days you have as a buffer to recoup. Whether you're working with Nate to help, or myself, right, to help recruit into that van to your facility, or if you guys just do it internally.
And it doesn't necessarily, so that particular situation, and you would ask it to probably like having somebody volunteer from your staff to be. But I did want to make sure to mention, the only exception to that 30-day length of time would be if the person that drops out of the van is the only person who's authorized to see, then it has to be
You have
done.
to stop that week.
Because that van can no longer operate if there's no authorized driver.
But yeah, we've worked with halfway house folks.
Okay. Have you ever, had contact with the Catherine McCully Center? You had spoken at
Yes,
Gramercy?
yes.
Okay, so one of the big problems we have with that is we do have a partnership with them.
Yes.
And for instance, I just hired a lady today, she speaks Swahili. The problem is, there's transportation issues, obviously she doesn't drive, so they have to bring her or she'll have to figure out something else, but again, it's the bus and all those things, but if they had a van, they would be able to, I think this would be wonderful for them, because there's a lot of people through that center that.
It's a Catherine McCauley, right?
Catherine McCauley?
Yeah. I've met with them so many times.
Oh, okay, I just,
I
cause,
don't know if the ladies still.
well, so like the person like today, it's really, well, you work with refugees, but it's really hard for them to even figure out a bus schedule or anything else. And then on Sundays, there is no bus.
Right.
So that's why I was kind of wondering about this, because like the guys at the center, they can take the bus every day or they can walk, they can ride a bike. It's not that far. But on Sundays and then sometimes in the later shift, in the winter time, there isn't that late bus. So I was kind of thinking in this more of a, I'm only gonna use it a couple times a week. I'm only gonna use it when there's no bus on Sundays. Getting the 4 people on Sundays or whatever is not an issue, but taking somebody home at night or something, then it's only gonna be me and that other person. So I can't guarantee that it would always be 4 people in the van. Now, we could, if we did it in a different program, pick them up every day. You know, our shifts vary, so that's another thing too, but. And the other part, one part of it for them and for the refugees as well is you have to learn how to take care of yourself. You've got to be able to get on a bus, you've got to be able to get yourself to the store or wherever. I mean, that's part of it too, the self-responsibility, but. Yeah, so that's why I'm just kind of thinking, I'm not, we could. Guarantee, I don't know about the guarantees, we have to talk about it some more,
Right.
figure out.
Well,
At our place, but for.
the first place that comes to mind for me is Geneseo, because they don't have buses at all. They don't have
Yeah,
buses.
so there's lots of us, there's 18 stores in Media Outlet, so there's lots of us.
Do you guys have a district manager that covers all your stores or?
Are
they?
we have 2 and then we're hiring. for the-
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
And then we have a vice president that's over.
All of them?
Yeah.
Like in the area?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
over everything.
Oh, okay.
No, just,
No,
No.
we only have 19
Well,
counties.
got it.
yeah,
Okay, I was
it's
just
really strange.
That's okay. No, I'm just trying to think in my mind, like how we would contract it. Cause
Yeah.
we could do an overarching contract with your vice president or your division managers, whatever you call them, 3 district managers. And then we could build it that way and then do different facilities as a work site. I think would make the most.
Are all 19 counties now?
No,
So Geneseo.
Yeah, we have
That's still our.
Yeah, we have Geneseo, Rock Island, Moline, Bettendorf,
So,
Davenport.
Quad Cities,
Yeah.
We go almost as far east as Indiana.
we're like in Rockford too. So we're everywhere basically outside of Chicago and San Luis and Illinois. So it'd still be us.
In that.
So that's why I was thinking, like, if we do like an overarching agreement, and then each facility can decide to do it how they want to do it. Would maybe make the most sense. The lady I was working with at Catherine was Renee. Popular? Popular?
I don't know, since,
No, maybe she's not there anymore.
The
we work with Rex.
some smart thing, was the only thing I mentioned, so obviously ECICOG is a fantastic asset. And the subsidy they provide is super helpful and great for all of the employers that run the program here locally. That program is not available in every area. We're still working, actually, we're working.
Quad Cities.
Yeah, so we're working with transit agencies across 3 states right now. Nebraska is all one, but Illinois, I'm working with all of the available transit agencies actively, trying to get subsidies like we've got here available for everybody. But that would be one thing just to keep in mind, because the Geneseos, there's not currently one there.
Okay.
And when we set up this agreement, you know, if we were to do something that Gabby's talking about where it encompasses that entire region there, those 19 counties, the rate that we would put in on that agreement would be the rate across the board. The subsidies would only be available in the
Work sites.
territories that are available from the transit agencies.
The other location benefit is the oil plant.
Oil plant would be good.
Big time, because buses don't either.
We
And they have a set schedule.
Yeah.
That would sure be fantastic for them.
We'll spread the word. I would say spread the good word on Vanpool.
There's
Because-
actually business.
Because I'm gonna be able to market this program through the state of Iowa, so more people can get out of there.
I would be interested to know though, if that other goodwill.
Yeah.
If they went
If you
through,
drop your
yeah,
card, I
yeah,
can,
yeah.
I'll get with Fred Rath, who is in Indiana, and Katie Arvin, who's in, Ohio. And I'm pretty sure it was Katie's in Ohio, so I'll double check and get back to you. I think she's out the rest of this week, so I'll get back to you this week
Okay.
about it. But because if it is running, why not just point in their direction and see how they're doing it?
Right, yeah, it would be nice to chat with them and,
well, we
yeah.
don't need to reinvent the wheel.
No,
No,
Right,
that's-
yeah.
but also what's working for them may not work for you.
Correct.
So you just gotta remember that. But that's a great news about Commute, is it's so flexible, like, you do pretty much, besides the ridership and like the monthly thing, like everything else is fairly flexible on your needs, so.
And in terms of like 2,000 miles a month, it's a lot of ours.
We're the rural area.
That's most of our,
Okay.
it's not 11-380.
No.
No, we do a lot of back roads and state roads, I, for lack of a better term, dirt roads. I
That's
did
true.
that, so.
I'm gonna steal the camera for a second. I just wanted to give, we've got somebody who's on the Zoom feed. Laura, I saw you on there. Sorry to put you on the spot. If you've got a question, I just wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to ask that. So please, if you do have a question, feel free to shout it out at us.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. I did actually have a question about, we're in rural Iowa, so Iowa County. So we have a lot of manufacturing companies that employ, 200 to 900, plus. And I didn't know if that was something that you already provide services for. Have you seen that be successful? Because what we'll find is that a lot of people may live in, big groups in Cedar Rapids, but then commute to, like Whirlpool in a man or something like that. So yeah, what have you seen when it comes to like a rural setting?
That is our bread and butter.
Yeah, okay. I figured.
I will say, we have the great partnership here in, Cedar Rapids or Iowa City, but most of our folks are in rural Iowa, coming and commuting out of the larger communities, so we do see that most often.
And a lot of the business we currently have throughout Iowa is protein processing, which may not be manufacturing by definition, but similar, shift schedules, people coming in and out, and similar living situations for a lot of the people that are taking part in the program as well. And we've seen a ton of success with those programs across Iowa and Nebraska and Illinois as well. So we definitely are used to working with that sort of setting to be able to see success with programs.
Okay, off the top of your head,
Oh,
do you know of many companies in Iowa County that already do this or participate in this service, or is that something I could talk offline about? Just because I don't want to go to all these, because I have contacts in each one of them, but if it's something they're
Yeah.
already doing, I don't want to,
I
be
don't
redundant.
thi- I don't, off the top of my head, I don't think we have anyone there. I will tell you, before I started, my counterpart Madison, who I took over for, got everything together and ready to go with Whirlpool in Amana, and then they decided to do shuttles, and I know they just went away with their shuttle program. So that's the only one that I know of that we even got close with.
Okay, so it might be worth a conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
absolutely.
Awesome. And then would I give them, or if I have questions, would I send them to you or which, Amy?
So
Okay.
you can send them over to me. I think you have my email already from the emails.
Yes.
From.
Yep, I did write that
So
down.
you
Yep.
can go ahead and shoot an email to them, or we can set up a meeting all together virtually as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, guys, I just wanted to make sure that Laura got a place. Good day. Did anyone else have any other questions for us today? We'll say, feel free to take extra flyers, business card, when we've got people we can share that information with. The QR codes and the next page, we can get a chance to snap that. Otherwise, commute.enterprise.com has a lot of information as well. Brock, yeah, great asset. ECICOG. If you've got a question, or someone's got check argument,
Yes.
Let's go to Jess and Sarman would. Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
So like.
What is it?